Hello, welcome back to the Fourth Down Focus. This is the sixth episode of this season's podcast, and I'm with James,
Hiya.
Max,
Hello.
and Kian.
Hello, I'm back. I'm sure you all missed me last week, but I'm back now.
Yeah, we had no Kian last week, unfortunately, but he's back now. So, it's been a very good week in the NFL. Let's start off by looking at how our teams did. And we'll start with you, James, for an obvious reason.
Yeah, for once, again, I'm somehow the only happy one, which is another mental statement because I thought we probably were going to be tanking by the end of this week. But no, to be fair, a big win against the Seahawks for us. I think I didn't see it coming. I think anyone saw it coming, really, especially with no neighbours or Singletary. You know, that's our main, what we thought was our only receiving threat out, as well as our only decent running back, we thought. But Tyrone Tracy came in for Singletary, was unbelievable. I think he ran for 140 so many yards, which is, I think it was a fifth round pick in the end. So that's a really, really positive sign that we've got a lot of depth in at running back. And, Slayton and Co did the job. I think Hyatt probably needs to be used a bit more on our routes, especially when there's no neighbours, because he looks good to me. I don't really see why we're hiding him out so much. But I don't know if people, and that field goal block at the end as well. I can't remember the last time I saw us do that. So, yeah, quite an impressive win for us, I think. I think it's a very good team, the Seahawks, and they have been so far this season. And I'm very happy with that, but I'm sure everyone else here isn't going to be as happy as me.
No, and the best person to hear from this, I think, would be Max, if you want to let us know how you feel about your game.
There's a reason I've got a picture of Joe Flacco in a Browns uniform behind me this week. It's because I wish he was the quarterback and not that fucking... I just hate Deshaun Watson. I hate the entire team. If we kept like three of the players and just sacked off everyone else and just brought in a full new team, I'd be happy. What Stephen A. Smith said about Deshaun, the fact that if he got arrested just for being bad, then I'd also accept it. We got torn apart by the Commanders. We've got the Eagles next, which I'll get onto later, but they're probably going to win by about 50 points. I don't know when Nick Chubb's back, but we need him desperately, because we just can't get anything going on offense. And I'm about this close to supporting the new team. So can someone else talk before I lose my head, please?
Yep, so Kian, how do you feel about your game?
I'm not really sure what to say about it. I mean, Gardner Minshew killed all the momentum with the 100-yard pick six that he threw. And then after that, it was just shocking. I mean, Aiden O'Connell came in. I can't trust a man with a mustache like that. I'm sorry. He's just a bit shit. So is Gardner Minshew. There's not really much we can say. I can see you smirking because you've also got a mustache. But yeah, I don't know. I just think we're not very good. And that's what I can say, really. We were 8-0 against them in the last 8 games, obviously. And Gardner Minshew's ruined it. So cheers, Gardner Minshew. Bye-bye. Please fuck off somewhere else.
Yeah, well, he said that you think that all you can say is that you pardoned. I think we'll all agree with that. There's not much else to say. We had another hard one to take because we were playing so well. Joe Burrow threw 400 yards, got 5 passing touchdowns, and we lost it right at the end. But I didn't expect us to win. I did go against us in my predictions. I didn't think we'd win. The fact that we actually took them right to the end was impressive. I think it was definitely one of the best games I've seen this year. But I'm not too disheartened. Got a nice win coming for us next, so we'll get back onto it, back towards the play push.
Not a chance. I'll move us on before, so we'll start off probably the story of the week, I'd imagine. Kirk Cousins on prime time. Everyone knows he's always good on prime time, but 500-plus yard game for the Falcons. They beat what was probably a heavily favoured Bucs team for that game. Personally, I think fair play. He struggled, I think, so far with Atlanta. It's been a tough start, but he's always been a good quarterback. We knew this, obviously, coming off his injury at Minnesota. It was an interesting decision for them to trade him in the first place. I think, obviously, they'll probably look back on it now and be absolutely buzzing, but he's kicking on, and fair play, 500 yards. I don't know, you can't really argue with that. That's an unbelievable return from any game. I think it might be one of the highest we've ever seen. I don't know what the actual official record was, but Max, you got any thoughts on it?
I was quite excited for this game, but I did forget it was on until about the fourth quarter when I tuned in. But that fourth quarter in overtime was prime time entertainment, which is, I mean, that's why they put it on a Thursday night. I backed the Bucks to win. I thought it was going to be a close one though. Yeah, Kirk Cousins, some game. Obviously, I thought they might have been a bit screwed when Drake London went off in overtime, and then Kadarius Hodge comes in, first play, scores the game-winning touchdown. So yeah, the Falcons look good, and the Bucks surprise loss, but I think they'll still kick on. I'll never go against Baker Mayfield. I love that man.
Kian?
Well, I think a lot of people gave the Vikings a lot of stick for getting rid of Kirk. Just briefly touching on him, like you said, unreal, good decision. But a lot of people also gave the Falcons a lot of stick for the amount of money they've given him. And I think I mean, don't get me wrong, one game is not worth that money, but he's shown what he can do. And like you say, well, Thursday night, prime time, when he was playing like a player should be playing on prime time. There's not a bad thing you can say about that performance from Kirk Cousins, and it was really, really impressive. Hate to say I didn't watch it. It was the first Thursday night game I've missed, and it's been the best one so far. So it's just my luck, really. But yeah, Kirk Cousins, fair play. Have a day. They need to do one of them graphics for him again. They stopped doing.
Caden?
Yeah, like Kian, I missed this game. I think it was the first Thursday night game I missed this season, and of course it'd be the best game of the season so far. I think I just remember waking up and seeing the numbers he'd put up and just thinking I was still asleep because it didn't seem real. No, I don't think anyone would have predicted him getting them sort of numbers. But as you said, he always shows up on prime time, and well, he's done it again. And
It's also Kirktober.
Did he break a record?
Oh,
It's Kirktober.
I saw someone say something about Matt Ryan. I don't know if he broke. I don't know if it was the official record or not.
Yeah,
It was something about Matt Ryan and passing yards in the game, but I don't know if it was like.
I think he overdid Matt Ryan.
Yeah, but I don't know if that was the official most yards thrown in a game. No idea. But still, very impressive.
very good.
We'll move on to, obviously, the London games finally started this week, and the Minnesota Vikings moved to 5-0 on the season by taking down the Jets in London, which also means they are now 4-0 in London, so they are the most successful team in NFL history in London. For us as well, it was kind of a special weekend because, as we said last week, and you've probably seen on our social media channels, we attended the Jets and Vikings training camps respectively. We'll start with you, Kian, because me and Caden went to the Vikings. What was it like for you at the Jets on Friday?
Very, very surreal. Just sort of being there, being around the sort of people we were around. Like, I mean, the second I drove in, Neil Reynolds got out of the car in front of me, and I was like, okay, this is going to be a bit strange. And then we were sat in the thing. Obviously, Rodgers came out straight away. I was like, that's Aaron Rodgers. What the fuck? And yeah, it was a really, really cool experience. There's a lot that can be said, especially about the Jets. But, you know, with a man that I'm not sure he knew he was under pressure, Rob Saleh, which obviously we'll get onto it, he handled the media very, very well. Any questions they had about the underperforming of the Jets. And yeah, like I say, it was just really interesting to see what they do leading up to a game. And we heard a few interesting points as well, but I'll get back onto them when we go back to the Rob Saleh thing. But yeah, it was really interesting, especially watching them out on the field practicing. That was strange.
So yeah, obviously a very cool experience. I mean, me and Caden, we went to the Minnesota Vikings in Watford for their training camp. And I mean, I'll start this one off. I think it was probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life. I obviously got to personally interview Aaron Jones as well, which was probably a lot more than what I had anticipated for the day. Thought we were sort of just going to be there and do whatever. But second I saw him go outside, and obviously we just went in. I ended up having to make questions up on the spot because I'd not actually thought of anything to ask him because we didn't actually know who was going to be there. And then obviously to get a question in the conference with Sam Darnold, as Kian and Caden could probably tell you as well. Bit of a war zone trying to get a question in on anything during the main press conferences, but managed to get one in for Darnold about his NFC Offensive Player of the Month, which is quite surreal to see on the Vikings social medias and stuff. But Caden, what do you think about it?
Yeah, like you said, it was just like very surreal because at no point did I think that we'd be doing like a press conference with Justin Jefferson. It was just like mind blowing. It didn't really like sink in until we went out and watched them playing on the field, and you had all these like superstar players coming into London, and you've got the chance to watch them behind the scenes and see how things work. And it's just like a great opportunity as a fan of the sport to see how it all works behind the scenes when it's never really over here.
Yeah. Well, Keane, you've probably got the quite a cool flex of saying you're probably one of the last people to see Rob Salah in a New York Jets uniform. So the news come out today that he has been fired by the Jets after, are they 2-3, I believe, to start the season?
Yeah.
I mean, Keane, you spoke to him. Did it seem? You said, did he really seem like a man who knew his job was sort of on the line with this one, or did he seem a bit more confident?
He was very, very calm about all of it. I mean, no one at no point posed the question, if you lose, are you going to go? Because I think it is a big shock at 2-3 that they've got rid of him so early in the season. I mean, his PR stunt, I don't know if anyone's seen his PR stunt, was fucking atrocious, by the way. If anyone saw that. So let me just quickly explain this for people who didn't see it. He came out in a jumper and they planted a reporter in the press bit to ask him why he was wearing the jumper. He then unraveled a piece of paper and read out why he was wearing his jumper because it was for some like local school. So he should have been fired just for that. But no, yeah, he had a lot of good things to say. He made one really, really good point, actually. You hear a lot about the travel of them coming to London. But what he said was being on the East Coast where they are, it's only the same as flying to San Francisco. So that travel is no different to what they have to do every other week, really. So, yeah, like I say, he didn't seem like a man under pressure at all. But he was. Just to say, Caleb Williams, we're coming for you.
I mean, yeah, we can also announce, I suppose, that this week.
Well, sorry,
what we were doing last
sorry.
No, might as well do it. So this week we're going to be attending the Chicago Bears and the Jacksonville Jaguars training camp. So we did it last week with the Vikings and the Jets, and this time Max will actually be able to go.
Yeah, go on.
I believe, are you two going tomorrow? So Wednesday this will be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going tomorrow.
It's being filmed on Tuesday,
and then I will be attending the Jags on Friday, I believe. So I'm going to have some one-on-one time with Trevor Lawrence, which sounds absolutely delightful.
I'll be
yeah, Kane's going to have to sit the ones out this time.
I'll be kicked out.
Unless you want to trek down to London on Friday again.
No, thank you.
But yeah, I mean, it'll be a really cool experience for us again. Should be a bit more. I mean, Max will be a first time, but I think for me, Kian, I don't know what you felt, but it felt a bit overwhelming when you first get in there, seeing all these people, and it's very fancy as well. The places we ended up at.
Oh, don't even start me on it. I'm not sure if we're allowed to say where they're staying on here.
No, I'd imagine not. But
no, but it's ridiculous. Just think of like Downton Abbey, and there's a bit like that. But yeah, it was really overwhelming. I'm going to try and get a question in this week. I've already got a few in my head for Caleb Williams, so we'll see what we can do. But like you say, it is like a war zone in there.
Yeah. Right, so we'll move on from the sort of London games and obviously the whole Salah situation. We'll go back to UK then, because many believe that this Bengals Ravens game probably label it game of the week as much as it's probably challenged by the primetime game on Thursday. But would you agree saying it was game of the week?
Yeah, it's definitely between our game and the Thursday night game, but I didn't catch the Thursday night game, so I can only really speak for someone who's watched the Bengals game. But it did have everything. It was a high-scoring game, some great plays, and it went right to the very end. And I think, just as a neutral, if you're watching it, it's all you really want to see. You don't want a boring game, or you don't want games where people are playing it too safe. I think it's two great quarterbacks going against each other, both putting in great performances. I think as a neutral, it's probably the better game to watch.
I mean, Max, did you watch any of this game?
I did. I watched more than I would have liked to watch of it, but it was a bit of a hate watch for me. Obviously, two divisional rivals, but yeah, I mean the Ravens look scary still. Obviously, I said this last week after they beat the Bills, but obviously the Bengals gave them a good fight. But I think it was when Lamar scored that one touchdown where Sam Hubbard he'd fumbled the snap and then come back out of the pocket. Sam Hubbard was in his face and he handed him off and threw it for a touchdown. I was like, this team is ridiculous, man. This is why Lamar's the MVP currently. And yeah, but fair play to the Bengals. They had a good game. I won't be nasty this week.
Kian, same question to you.
It wasn't my game of the weekend. My game of the weekend was actually the Patriots versus the Dolphins. The 10-15 thriller. No, I'm taking the piss. Yeah, it probably was the game of the weekend. I watched quite a bit of that one. Even down to McPherson missing the kick. It was just like all them little things really just made it what, as a neutral, you want to see. And then obviously them winning it right at the end as well is just brilliant. Like you say, the Ravens, even though they lost to us, they're starting to look like a better and better team each week, and I think they're probably a Super Bowl contender.
Yeah, I probably imagine so as well. Another team now, which is it's an interesting one because a lot of people this week especially have labelled them now the team to beat in the AFC, despite the Chiefs being 4-0. The Houston Texans, 23-20 win over the Buffalo Bills. I mean, for me, I've always said it about the Texans. They have all the facilities to be able to be Super Bowl contenders this season. CJ Stroud is one of the best in the league at what he does. And considering it's only his second year, it's quite insane to see the level he's actually playing at. You know, completely dominant against the Bills. Obviously, maybe not getting as many touchdown passes as he would have liked, but he did enough to win the game. You know, they've got a great defensive setup. They've got fantastic offensive weapons. Nico Collins is a man possessed this season. When you've got Stephon Diggs, somehow now wide receiver 2, it shows you've got a very good receiving core, I think. And obviously still got Tank Dell at the 3 as well. But Max, do you think do you agree with a statement of the team to beat, or do you still think it's someone like the Chiefs or the Ravens?
I mean, I backed the Texans in that game. I did see them winning it. I thought the Bills, would be a bit down in the dumps after losing a big game against the Ravens. I agree with you. The Texans are definitely one of the teams to beat. Obviously, the Chiefs are probably still the biggest, obviously 5-0. But yeah, the Texans just look solid. They've got one of the best receiving cores in the league. The defense is solid. They're a great team, and I mean, I root for them partially just because I'm a big CJ Stroud fan. Unless they play us like when they knocked us out of the playoffs last year, not them.
Kian?
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with the team to beat, like a lot of people are saying. I think Max touched on it there. The Chiefs are still that team, and until the Chiefs lose a game, they will always be that team. Just the big names surrounding you, going, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Randy Reid, beating them is always going to be a bit bigger than beating CJ Stroud, as much as I do love CJ Stroud. But like you say, they're playing really well, and that's a huge, huge win. Who have they got next week? Sorry putting you on the spot there. If you don't know, then just leave it. It's fine.
Patriots.
I mean, they're going to win that. So they could just pick up wins and keep going. I think we will probably see them in the playoffs again, and I think they'll get further than they did last year as well.
Caden?
Yeah, I think the Texans are probably one of my favourite teams to watch in the NFL. I don't know what it is about them. They just seem to sort of have that edge. And when you're saying if they're the team to beat, I don't think they're at that level of like the feeling you get after you beat the Chiefs just because of it being the Chiefs. And then teams like the Ravens, obviously we play the Ravens twice every year, so that's different for me. But I do think the Texans are a very, very exciting team. They're definitely building something big. And I think if not this year, next year, or the year after, they could definitely make an appearance in the Super Bowl.
Well, another team which were Super Bowl contenders last year lost in the end to the Chiefs, 49ers. The question surrounding them at the minute is, are they still Super Bowl contenders for this season? I'll let you start this one off, Caden. Do you think that the 49ers are still contenders, or do you think that maybe it might not be for this season?
I can't see it personally. I think it's already derailed too far. And I always back the Niners because I think if anyone can get a result, it's the Niners just because of how good they actually are. But something just seems off this year, and I can't really put my finger on it. I don't know if it's because they're missing McCaffrey and he's their big man who gets it done, but it's just like watching a completely different team to the Niners from last year. So I think if they wanted to make it to the Super Bowl or even to get any further than the first round of the playoffs, they need to switch on very, very soon and start getting these big wins.
Kian?
Thankfully, no, they don't have a chance. McCaffrey is still holidaying out in Germany. I refuse to believe he's still having his legs checked. I think he's just on holiday. It is also Oktoberfest as well, so I mean, who can blame him? And they just don't look the same team. He's just got that aura. I mean, I hate that word, but he has just got that aura that comes with being such a great player and lifting that team up. And I don't know, man. I'm not enjoying watching them as much as I was enjoying watching them. Brock Purdy's missing him. Big ties back to the old game manager, Brock Purdy. He is really missing him. So, yeah, I think the loss of McCaffrey has absolutely derailed them.
Max?
It's tough. I mean, you obviously get beat by a Cardinals side that they're not a great team. They're a fine team. Divisional rivals too, which you never want to lose those games. But obviously, we've touched on McCaffrey. He's obviously the second best running back in the league behind Nick Chubb. But obviously, great player. So you're gonna miss him. But they've still got big players like Brock Purdy. Everyone calls him a game manager, but he's one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. He's still one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL. I don't care. Obviously, you've got George Kittle, one of the better tight ends. Got a good receiving course and a great defense. So I don't know what's going wrong, but I still see them making the playoffs. I just don't think we'll see them in the Super Bowl again this year, which is a bit of a shock because I think I had them to win it in my preseason predictions. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm not sure it's time to write them off yet because my big thinking is if they can still make the playoffs without CMC, the chances are when they get to the playoffs, they'll have CMC. And throwing him into that offense in the playoffs could be, changing of a whole projection of a season. I don't think Jordan Mason's done anything wrong either, to be honest. I don't really think it's necessarily the reason they're not winning these games because Jordan Mason has been absolutely fine. So he's going maybe obviously not the level of CMC, we all knew that, but this Niners offense without run game, it's pretty easy to succeed in that. And Jordan Mason is showing that maybe he could be a solid replacement. But I don't want to write them off because I think every time you do, they then come back out of nowhere and go on a massive winning streak. And then it's like, oh my God, this team's unreal. So I don't think it's time to say they won't win the Super Bowl. Do I think they'll win the Super Bowl? Probably not. But if you look at the NFC this year, barring the Vikings at the minute, no one's really setting anything up alight, you know what I mean? Like, no one's been particularly unbelievable apart from the Vikings at the minute. So I definitely wouldn't rule them out. I think they'll still definitely make the playoffs. It's just whether they can push on. I think CMC, it just depends what the time frame is on that. If he comes back at all this season, that'll be an interesting one. Kian's favourite person, Caleb Williams, the Bears. Another win for the Bears. Is this a team and a quarterback who's finally finding momentum, and maybe Caleb showing why he was the first pick in the draft, Kian?
I've always loved him. I've never ever slagged that man off, and I'm going to be especially careful as I'm literally seeing him in person tomorrow. But no, yeah, I think he has looked a lot better. I still think that Jaden Daniels is the better of the two. But obviously, we've got a whole season to see how that pans out. But yeah, the Bears are starting to look a better team, and yeah, I think they've got a chance really to push on, but they're not going to top that division because of how good the Vikings have been. So it's going to have to be a wild card spot if they want the playoffs. But I don't think the playoffs is really a measure of success for them this season. I think just looking a better side with Caleb in it is a success to then push on next year. But yeah, I think they look a lot better, and I'm going to stop slagging him off.
Caden?
Yeah, I think I've said it quite a lot this season that they were gradually just improving. And I'm sure he was under an immense amount of pressure when he first came in, as you would be as the number one draft pick. But he's really starting to come alive a bit and single-handedly getting him over the line in big games now. So you never know, they could be pushing for something big with Caleb. but I'm not sure I prefer him to some of the other quarterbacks in the NFL. But for what it's worth, I think he's definitely going to become a lot better than he started.
Max?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going to be like Kian, as I'm also seeing Caleb and the Bears organisation tomorrow. But no, I don't have much bad to say about them. I think they're getting better. Obviously, a lot of the first few games of the season are always considered kind of like pre-season continued because a lot of the starters don't get a lot of minutes in pre-season, so they've got time to gel in the first few games. I think they might go on a bit of a run now, get a few wins under the belt. Caleb obviously looking better. They've got great receiving core. They've got good running back in DeAndre Swift. The defense looks scary, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's not a huge win over the Panthers. I mean, those two teams are kind of interlinked for the foreseeable future because of the trades that got the Panthers, Bryce Young, and obviously Caleb to the Bears. But yeah, I think they look like they're on the right path now, and I can't wait to see how they organise themselves tomorrow.
Yeah, but it'd be an interesting one. I think, yeah, always the first round draft pick, you're going to come under the pressure, as Caden said, and the first few weeks in a team which isn't exactly fantastic, especially with a below average O line. I think it's always going to be a struggle when you play against these teams with unbelievable D lines. You're just not going to have a good time, and we saw that in the first few games. Came up against a few good defensive linemen, and it was just brutal for him. But looking a bit more comfortable now, and I think, as you said, he's a rookie. I don't think anyone expected him to have a world-beating season, but my thing is, I think you have to look at Jane Daniels and how well he's playing with what you could probably say is also a below-average O-line in Washington with a lot less help. If you compare the receiving calls, obviously, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen in Chicago versus Scary Terry, and that's about it in Washington. And even then, he's still not the best. So I think, yeah, I'd probably still think Daniels is the best from that class at the minute. But as we said, we've still got a whole season ahead of us, so things could change. Another one for you, Kian. So we heard, obviously, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, about Devontae Adams wanting out of Vegas. Officially requested the trade, and so far you've said you want a second-round pick for Adams. And unfortunately for you, the Kansas City Chiefs are the only team wanting to give you the compensation, but you also come out and said you don't want it to send him to Kansas. So do you think is he going to stay? Or do you think someone else will finally give up the second rounder and pay the salary to get him out of Vegas?
I think it's a smart thing to get rid of him now, to be honest. I wasn't on last week, so the week before there was nothing about it. I wasn't on last week when it all came out, so this is obviously the first time I'm speaking about it. I think it's time to just sort of move him on. He's clearly a bad apple in the group. When you've got, like you say, the receiving core still isn't bad. Trey Tucker's stepped up since Adams has left, and he's been very good. But yeah, like you say, we don't want to give him to the Chiefs. Fuck the Chiefs. I don't want to give him to the Chiefs either. That's a really, really good decision to not hand him over there, even for that second round. You've sometimes got to think about the rivalries and stuff, and you don't want to give up your best player to a team that you hate so much. So yeah, I'm quite happy that we're not trading him away for that. Is anyone going to give it up? I think Aaron Rodgers is calling the shots at New York, if I'm being honest, and I think he would do anything to have him back. So that's the only team I could see doing it. If not, I think he'll stay, but we really can't afford for him to stay because he's on a big old contract. So if he's not playing, he needs to fuck off.
I mean, yeah, it's obviously a fantastic player, and you can't argue his talent. But if he doesn't want to be there, you don't want him there. You don't want a player sat there taking up an unheard of amount of money just to sit and probably not even play a game. Let's be honest. I don't think Pierce is going to be too keen on playing him much after him saying he doesn't want to be there. But I mean, Max, do you think anyone else is going to give them a second rounder for Devontae?
I was watching the Pat McAfee show and they were talking about it, and it brought up the teams with like the most cap room, and weirdly the Browns were at the top, which I wasn't aware of. I thought we were skint, to be honest. I'd take him, especially if we get rid of Amari Cooper, but I don't think we'll be getting him. Obviously, the two teams that are in the talks mainly are the Jets and the Saints. I don't know if the Jets will take him because obviously the trade deadline's in a couple of weeks now. We're on week 6. I think the trade deadline is week 8. and they've got to obviously find a new head coach. Could that be Bill Belichick? Maybe no one's pointed that out yet. That would be interesting.
Snap face.
But yeah, no, I'm just glad they're not giving him to Kansas City, to be honest, because I don't think I could sit through that. I already don't like watching them. So if they had an actual competent receiver that isn't injured currently,
Caden's just got a Devontae Adams pumped up.
Yeah.
Second round pick for Caden Allen. What the fuck?
Right, we've got Caden back now after.
Fuck off, Devontae.
Technical difficulties. I'm very sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you seem keen to leave, so do you agree with Devontae Adams?
Well, if I was playing in Las Vegas, I think the only reason I'd actually stay would be because I live in Las Vegas. Everything else about playing for the Raiders must be really miserable. So I can understand why he's trying to force a way out. But like we've said, who's going to take him? That's the only thing he's got to worry about is if anyone's going to give up what they'd have to give for him, because not many teams can afford that second round pick to be given away.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be an interesting one. We'll see how that one develops in the next couple of weeks. Obviously, we haven't got long to the deadline, so I'd imagine this, whatever the decision is going to be made probably this week after. We'll move on to everyone's favourite part, our week 6 now, predictions. Last week, I don't think we actually did too badly.
I think I went 8-8.
I mean, for the first one as well, I think we picked 3. We had a 3-peat. A few times we picked the Viking sweep, and they actually did win. And for once, we didn't jinx everyone, so that's
rare.
New one. But this week, so we'll start off with the Seahawks playing the 49ers. So 2 teams coming off of a loss on week 5. Max, what do you think is going to happen in this one?
Yeah, like you just said, they both just come off losses, which were upset defeats, really. I mean, I don't think I did back the Giants against the Seahawks, but I think it's 2 slightly underperforming teams at the minute anyway, both coming off losses. I've gone with the 49ers this week. I've actually planned my predictions. I'm not just doing them off the top of my head.
Grow up.
I went 8-8 last week. I want to do better, so I've gone with the 49ers. I think they need the win more than the Seahawks. I think, obviously, if they want to be contenders, they're going to have to start racking up some wins. So I'll take San Francisco for this one.
Kim?
So I'm going to be the new predictions champion. I've even got the belt ready. So I am going with the Seahawks because, as I've already said, the 49ers have been absolutely derailed since the loss of Christian McCaffrey. And the Seahawks want to prove that they're not a bad side after losing to a really bad side last Sunday. So, I'm going to go Seahawks, and I think it'll be comfortable because without McCaffrey, the 49ers are nothing.
Right. Caden?
Shockingly, I'm going to agree with Kane on this. I do think that the Niners' downfall is not going to stop, and I don't know what it is, but I just really can't see them winning. I think the Seahawks have just been a better team this season, and I think they'll continue to prove that, and they'll get a nice win.
To be honest, I sort of posed this question thinking we're all going to agree in unison at the 49ers, because as someone who watched the Seahawks play on the weekend, they are absolutely terrible. And I cannot believe this is even being said that they might win this one. I've got the 49ers by a very, very comfortable margin. We played them on Sunday, and genuinely they had nothing going for them at all. They got completely dominated by our defensive line. And with the Niners having a better defense than us, I can't see this going anywhere but a 49ers win. I just don't see what you guys see in the Seahawks at all. I guess you didn't really watch much of our game because you would have seen a pretty useless side on all accounts, on both defense and offense. If you let Daniel Jones throw for however many yards it was, more than 100, you probably had a mare, let's be honest, against Daniel Jones. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the 49ers. We'll go to, well, start with you, Kian, because we've got the Bears and the Jags. So, obviously, the second London game of the circuit. And, obviously, we'll be going to the training camps this week. Who have you got for this one?
Now, I really want... So, my head wants to say the Bears because they're a better side. But when do the Jags lose in London?
They've lost 6 times in London.
It doesn't happen very often.
I think I saw that yesterday. They haven't.
When you watch them, they just always seem to win. Don't make me look. I look like a dickhead now. Right, fuck you. Okay, Bears. I'm going Bears. Fuck you all.
You did this to yourself there.
I'm pretty sure it was something like that. They're not like, obviously they've played a stupid amount more games than basically anyone in London. I'm trying to find the thing. It was something stupid like that. They were like 6-6 in London or something ridiculous like that. But we'll move on to UK then.
Better than us.
What do you think, Kane?
I think I'll take the Bears for this one. I can't see it happening any other way, just because of how bad the Jags are. The Bears, like I said before, they're not like incredible. They're not going to push for the playoffs or anything, but they're definitely building something. And I think a win in London would definitely be a bit of a boost for them as well. So I can see them winning this quite easily.
Max?
The Jags looked better against a decent Colts side, obviously with the GOAT Joe Flacco at quarterback. It probably was one of Trevor Lawrence's best games since he was in Clemson, to be honest. He looks back to what we expected when he was picked first overall. But obviously, the Bears, like I said earlier, they've got something going, I think, and I think they're going to pick up a few wins now. Like Caden said, a big one is in London, where you've got no home advantage. And I'm also going to the Bears camp, so I'm going to be a bit biased and also pick Chicago.
So I have found it. So the Jags are 6-5 in London. So they are still.
They never lose though.
Winning record.
They never lose.
The most losses in London by a country mile, albeit they have played 11 times. Funny enough, the Bucks is actually the worst team in London. They're 0-3 in the international games. And the Bears are 1-1 in London. I've just seen as well. So two teams who
Their last London game they lost to us. I just thought I'd let everyone know.
Yeah. I also have to mention the Giants are the second best team in London in history, but yeah, we'll move on from that one. Going to the Jags camp, I think I generally can see the Jags winning this one. They had a great game last week, and as a team that's been pretty rotten for the first 4 games, I think a win now should start to spur them on. And I think as a team that's so used to playing in London, I mean, it's not like Trevor Lawrence is any stranger to London either. He's basically been playing there every year since he started in the league. I think he has played every year actually since he came into the league. So I'm going to go with the Jags' comfortability in a situation where they're going to have a lot of the fans, as we all know in London games they always do. So I'm going to go with the Jags to pretend. Is it an upset? Maybe a bit, but we'll go with the Jags to beat the Bears. Next up, we've got the Titans against the Colts. Caden, do you want to start that one off?
Terrible game, if you ask me. I can't see anything other than a Colts win, though. Just plain and simple, not much else to say about it. They should get it done.
Kian?
Yeah, I'm going to go Colts as well. I really, really don't like the Titans at all.
Do you like anyone?
No, not as in I don't like them as a team. I just don't like the way they're playing. I really, really don't like the way they've been playing. Okay, I'll rephrase myself. But yeah, and I'm a fan of Joe Flacco. See, I like Joe Flacco. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Colts. I think they're going to batter them.
Probably a rhetorical question, but Max?
Joe Flacco, come back to Cleveland, please, 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 please. Anthony Richardson will be back soon, so Indianapolis don't need him because they're going to start Anthony Richardson. So we'll take Joe Flacco back. We'll pay him anything, all the money. I've got the Colts winning as well. No shock there. I do have a bit of a soft spot for the Titans because I've got an incredible Madden 25 franchise going with them at the minute. But Will Levis is not the quarterback in that, so I can't back them in real life when he's the quarterback. But I hope we see another funny picture from him this week.
Yeah, I'm going to round it off as a 4-4. I'm not going to go out there this time. The Colts are going to win this one, I think. The Titans have just been poor. Obviously, they got their win, but it's just not. It's not a team I can see being anywhere but in the bottom 5 teams come the end of the season. I think they've just been terrible all year, and I think it's going to continue. As much as Mr. Richardson might be a big loss, but with Flacco, he's more than capable at backup, and I think they should win this one. Packers versus the Cardinals is the next game up. Now, this is probably a lot more interesting now. The Cardinals took down the Niners this week. Max, what do we think about this one?
Yeah, it did take me a while to think about this one. Obviously, the Cardinals, I nearly picked them last week just as a bit of an outside shout to be a bit rogue and stop us going the same teams, but I think the Packers just look a bit too strong. Jordan Love's back. He threw probably the best and the worst pass I saw last week. He threw an absolute dime down the field, but then also threw a pick six from his own goal line, which was hilarious. But yeah, I'll take the Packers this week.
Kian?
Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. That's another team I really like watching play. Obviously, Jordan Love is back in his swing now. So yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. I just like them. So
You actually like someone for once. Caden?
Yeah, I'll take the Packers on this one. Yeah, I'm going to take the Packers. I do like watching the Packers. I do really like Jordan Love. I think he's a great player. And I think probably a good game, actually. But you can't write either team off, but I think the better team is the Packers, and I think they'll take it.
Yeah, I don't want to make the same mistake again with the Cardinals. Obviously, I think we had a unanimous 3-0 for the 49ers to win last week. But yeah, I think it's just a one-off. They're still a good team. I don't doubt. I've always said about Kyler Murray. I do believe he is a good quarterback. And when you've got Marvin Harrison now as well, they have got a solid team. But with Jordan Love back for the Packers, I think they're going to finally start finding their feet this season. And it should be a big win for both him and the whole organization, really, to sort of save their season a bit. Max, you can start us off with this one. The Eagles versus the Browns.
Give me the Browns. No, I'm joking. We're gonna get beat by 1,000 points. It's gonna be a hard watch as always. I mean, I remember I walked in the house on Sunday. I was a bit late to Red Zone, and the Browns game flashed up, and I asked Keane if he could turn it off because I didn't want to watch it. Yeah, we just look problematic in every department of the field. There's about 3 players, like I said earlier, that I'd actually keep on the team at this point. Get rid of Cooper, get rid of Deshaun, scrap off the O-line, just keep like 3 players on defense. Just get rid of everyone else. We're terrible. The Eagles are coming off a bye week, so they're going to be rested, relaxed, ready to go. Jalen Hurts are going to tear our defense a new one, and I'm going to cry like I have done the past few Sundays.
Kian?
the Browns have got a lack of morals and a lack of footballing ability, so they are going to get absolutely battered by the Eagles. And that's all I'm going to say on it. That's genuinely all I'm going to say on it.
Oh, can I change my prediction? If we play Jameis Winston, we won't get beat by 100 points. It'll only be 50.
Caden?
Yeah, there is no parallel universe where the Browns get a win. They are one of the worst teams I've ever watched. Just based on that last game, I've never seen anything like it. They look like they volunteered to play for the weekend. So, I think that's enough said.
I don't really like either of these teams, to be honest. I hate the Eagles a lot more than I hate the Browns, but I don't exactly want to pick the Browns to win either. But I've got to put my bias aside for this one. The Eagles are going to win this game, as much as I really hate them. And I think Jalen Hurts is an overrated quarterback, and I will die on that hill. They're going to beat the Browns. They've been terrible all season, and I think they're heading directly in competition with probably your Raiders, Kin, for who wants the first pick in the 2020 2025 draft. I'll go with the Eagles.
I think I also know that the Eagles have got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown back this week, so that's fun.
Yeah, that definitely confirms my prediction. I'm
not watching it. I actually don't want to watch it. I'm busy that day.
I'm going to pose this question as probably as I know what the answer is going to be from all of you without much hesitation. But Caden, the Patriots versus the Texans.
Texans.
Do you know what? Let's just do rapid fire, Kian.
Texans.
Max.
Oh wait, do we have to do rapid fire?
We're going to do rapid fire because we're all going to say the same thing anyway.
Texans. The Patriots are shit.
And I'll round off with the Texans. So congratulations, New England. You've just won another game. Next game, we are just going to leave it there because I don't really think there's much more to be said about it, to be honest. I'll start this one off. We got the Saints versus the Bucks. Saints obviously losing on Monday Night Football to the Chiefs. Not really any shot there. And the Bucks obviously getting destroyed by Kirk Cousins, I think is the only fine way to put it, as much as they did take the game to overtime. Leaving on a 500-yard game from Kirk Cousins probably isn't ideal. I do still think the Bucks are going to win this one. Derek Carr had his 2 weeks of insanity. We're not the best quarterback in the league, and now he's gone back to being bang average again. I don't think they're particularly bad against the Chiefs. It's the Chiefs. They're going to win most of their games this season, so it's not really any surprise. But I think the Bucs are going to win this one, and it should be reasonably comfortable. They need a win after losing to the Falcons to keep their season on track. And as you said, you don't bet against Baker. Kieran, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go Bucs as well. I mean, Derek Dimes has fallen back down to just Derek Carr. So, and I just, they're not a bad side, the Saints, by any stretch of the imagination. I really don't think they're awful. They're just very mediocre. And the Bucs, even though they lost on Thursday, they're going to look for a bounce back. And I think they're probably going to get that bounce back as well. So, yeah, Bucs for me.
Max?
Yeah, both teams looking for a bounce back, but I mean, the Bucs looked a lot better in defeat against the Falcons than the Saints did last night to the Chiefs. That was a tough watch. I only watched the first half. I couldn't be bothered watching the rest. But yeah, I never back against Baker. I always pick Baker, so the Bucs.
Caden?
Yeah, I fancy the Bucs for this one as well. So we've got another very easy prediction for us. I do like Baker Mayfield, and just hope he doesn't disappoint, because I think I've bet on the Bucs a couple of times and they've got battered every time.
This game, I think if we posed it about 3-4 weeks ago, you probably would have been a similar situation to the Texans game, but now it's probably a different story. We've got the Ravens against the Commanders, I think I'll let you start this one off, Max. What do you think about this one? Because I think this could be a really interesting one.
You shouldn't have let me start this one off because you're going to laugh at me. I've gone with Washington. I've picked the Commanders, and I've said this for the past 2 weeks that the Ravens look ridiculous, and I don't see who stops them. But the Bengals nearly stopped them, and I mean they're not a great team. No disrespect, but they gave them a good game, and the Commanders they're on a hot run of form. They beat the best team in the NFL, the Cleveland Browns, last week, so they must be good. But no. Honestly,
NFL or XFL?
It's true.
I think we get beat by a college team at this point, but no. I'm picking the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is probably my favorite player to watch in the NFL this year, when he's not playing against the Cleveland Browns. And yeah, I'm probably going to be wrong, but Washington for me.
I know Caden was sort of seeming really happy until he said, and they're not a great team. And it was like the front almost. Kian?
I'm really on the fence, but this is a predictions game, so I can't be on the fence. I'm going to go Ravens just because it feels like a safer option. But I do think it's going to be a closer game than it would have looked on paper a few weeks ago. And I also think it's going to be a really exciting game as well. So, I would tune into that one. But yeah, I'm going to go Ravens. I just think they're going to have a bit too much for them. But I do really like the Commanders and what they've been doing so far this year.
Caden?
Weirdly, me and Max have a very similar idea of what's going to happen in this game. And I think the Commanders are going to win a big statement win to prove that they're a serious team again.
Again?
Yeah, I think it's been a long time.
They've been a serious team in the past God knows how long.
They're cooking something special now.
Yeah. As someone who watched the Commanders get completely shut out by our defense, albeit they did win the game, but with 7 field goals, with this Ravens team, again, I don't want to bet against the Commanders at the minute, because it seems every time I do, they win. And Jaden Daniels has been unbelievable. I said it even in the game where he didn't score a single throw-in touchdown against us. You could still see it then. It's just he's been a bit let down by everything else in that Washington team. But I'm going to go with the Ravens. I think they're finally getting to the point where we all thought they'd be at the start of the season now, where they're properly hitting the ground running. And I think they'll win this one. At home as well, I believe it is. So I think it's even more reason why I think the Ravens are going to win. Next up, we've got the Broncos against the Chargers. Caden, I'll let you start with this one.
Another really boring game, I think. But it's just, I think it's a weird one to predict. And weirdly, I don't know if anyone else is going to do this as well, I'm going to back the Broncos. I don't know why, I think I just really like Bo Nix.
Kian?
I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm going to back the Chargers. When you look at the two games we played against each other, I think that we really sort of handed it to the Broncos. Don't get me wrong, the scoreline suggests very differently. But if it wasn't for that pick six, which was, a stupid throw, we'd have been 17-0 up. And whether they bounce back from that, I don't know. Whereas I think the Chargers looked like a better team against us. I also am not a massive fan of Bo Nix. I mean, we've all seen the video of Max Crosby telling him to speak up because they don't actually know what you're saying. So, yeah, I'm going to go Chargers. I just think they're a better side, but it'll be closer than it should be.
Max?
Yeah, I'm taking LA as well. The Chargers, I mean, I'm going to preface this by saying I think Justin Herbert should actually throw the ball this week because they've just been running it, that Harbaugh-style offense. But yeah, I think if Justin Herbert plays to his full potential, then it could be a complete shutout because the Broncos don't look that good. They've got a few wins under the belts now, probably where they weren't favoured, definitely not against the Jets. But yeah, I'm going to take LA.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you too on this one. I think, as I said, the Broncos haven't been awful, but I think that Chargers offense, we saw against the Chiefs, they weren't far off winning that one for a long period of that game. I don't think they're a bad team. We said about running the ball, but to be fair, with them receiver options, I probably wouldn't throw it either. But I think the Chargers should win this one. They're a weird team to call because they haven't really got much offense apart from their run game. I said with the receiver options, they're not great. But I think they should still have enough to beat the Broncos, really. Kian's favourite prediction of the week. It's the Raiders against the Steelers. I'll let you start off to get your... Well, I'll see if you'll be optimistic or not for once, but I doubt it.
Steelers. It's going to be the Steelers, and it's going to be a blowout because we are a shocking team. I mean, if he starts Aiden O'Connell, then we may as well just quit. Pass it around the back, lad. You're clearly a better player than me, sort of style. Because honestly, they're going to absolutely ruin us, and I don't see a world in which we win that game on Sunday.
Caden?
Yeah, as much as I don't want to back the Steelers, I don't see them not beating the Raiders as much as I'd like you to beat them, Kian. I just think the Raiders, they've got nothing at all at the moment. All they had was Devontae, and he's leaving. So it's just...
Max, as someone who hates the Steelers, I'm intrigued to see what you come out with here.
I don't want to pick them, but I had to watch the entirety of the Raiders game on Sunday because Kian forced us to watch that instead of Red Zone. And it was a painful watch, probably nearly as bad as watching the Browns. I just don't want to pick the Steelers, but I think if I want to get my predictions right, I'm going to have to, even though they're not a good team and they're boring to watch. I've said it before, I'll say it again, the Burnley of the NFL. There is a conversation to be had about, I think Russell Wilson might be back to full fitness very soon. Is he going to get a look in? Obviously, they've got 2 L's in a row now. You've got to think that maybe Russ comes back, takes Justin Fields' spot. I don't know. But I'm going to take the Steelers, unfortunately. But I hope they lose.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Steelers as well. I don't know about Russ. I think Fields is actually a good quarterback, and he's just having I think they're a tough couple of games. I don't think it's too much to read into yet. I think it's quite a big call for the Steelers to make if they are going to drop Justin Fields. But when you've got 2 quarterbacks who are both capable of doing that, I suppose they can sort of... There's an argument to rotate them, and there's an argument you want one guy to establish the offense rather than mixing it up every week. It's not going to be the most ideal situation, but I'm going to go with the Raiders. Then Steelers to beat the Raiders. So another 4-0 skin. You might actually win this one if we keep jinxing it. Give you the best chance. Next up, this could be a very good game or a very easy win for some team. We've got the Cowboys against the Lions. Caden, do you want to start that one off?
I think the Lions is definitely the safe bet because they've looked really good this year. Jared Goff's having a great season. Obviously, had that perfect passing game the other week. And it's 2 very solid teams, but I think the Lions do have the edge, and I think they will get the win. But I think it'll be a good watch.
Kian?
I'm going to go Lions. They're coming off the back of a bye week. They're going to be really well refreshed and stuff. Obviously, they won before the bye week as well. That was Goff's perfect passing game. So they're going to be in good spirits. And I don't think the bye week would have knocked them off. The Cowboys are a decent side, but I think the Lions are a lot better and a Super Bowl contender as well.
Max?
The Cowboys are a very dull team, and the Lions are a very fun team. So I'm just going to give it the Lions based on that. But I do think they are just a better team. I was waxing lyrical about them last week about how fun it is to watch them and how good they look. So yeah, I'm going to take the Lions because fuck the Cowboys.
Couldn't agree more with the second statement. I absolutely hate the Cowboys, and I will never go for them. I'm 100% backing the Lions, and I really hope it's a massive blowout because I really want to see them fail. But at this rate, we might actually let Washington win the division, which could be a disaster for everyone involved in the NFC East. So we'll see how that one plays out. But to be honest, at this rate, it probably is because the Cowboys haven't exactly been great. The Eagles, don't know, but they are playing the Browns this week, so that'll be an easy win. So they should be back on track after that. This one, the Panthers against the Falcons. So obviously we've got Kirk coming off his 500-yard game against what many labelled the worst team in the NFL before the start of the season, but maybe not at the minute, which is obviously they're not far off it, but mental statement to say. Kian, you start one off.
Well, first of all, I won't be watching it. But I'm going to go for the Falcons. Like the Panthers have had a bit of an upturn obviously since Dalton came in, but they're still not a great team at all. So I'm going to go for the Falcons, especially coming off a win last week as well. Cousins going to be very confident going into that game. He's probably going to have a stinker on the back of it because that's just what happens. But yeah, I'm going to go Falcons. I think they'll win even if he does have a stinker. So,
Max?
I like the Falcons a lot. I enjoy watching them at the minute. I like the receiving group. Kirk Cousins, obviously. Kirktober. You can't back against him in Kirktober. But mainly the Panthers. I think they started to look better. But they put Dalton in. They got that win, and then they had a decent game against the Bengals, and then last week against the Bears, they looked a lot less convincing. And the Falcons had a very good win, so give me the Falcons.
Caden?
give me that win.
Yeah, it's just got to be the Falcons, hasn't it? I mean, I don't think anyone's expecting Kirk Cousins to be as good as he was in his last game, but I think he's going to have a bit of confidence about him now, and he'll have a good game, very solid game. And yeah, Panthers, they got a win. I think that's probably them done for the season now. So they might score a couple of touchdowns, but they definitely won't win the game.
Yeah, I'm going to make it a sweep from me here, but Falcons are going to win this game. The Panthers, they had their little change of fortune with Dalton coming in, but it's sort of like in football, you have your new manager bounce almost, a new quarterback bounce. They got their one win, and then they're sort of back to being terrible again. I'm going to go with the Falcons. I think it should be quite comfortable. Next up, another fourth down focused derby. We have the New York Giants against the Cincinnati Bengals. Do you know what? I'll let you start, Caden, because I feel like I can argue a lot of things against what you're about to say because I know exactly what you're going to predict.
Yeah, it's going to be a very good win for the Bengals. We're finally going to get some results for the incredible offense we've got. It won't be easy. It's never easy for us this season. We'll definitely probably take it to a very close game at some point, but there's only so many games that your quarterback can throw for 400 yards and not win. So I'm sorry, James, but it's going to be a Bengals win.
You know what? I've said this. This game makes or breaks probably both of our seasons, I think. I think if we win this game, we move to 3-3, and I genuinely think we have a chance of being somewhere near. I'm not saying we're going to get playoffs because I don't believe we will. But I think you put us back in contention if we win this game because it's a solid offense. And I'm going to back us to win this game. It was a different team against the Seahawks than I've seen for the rest of this season. Daniel Jones is getting more comfortable by the week with it. We won without Singletary and Neighbours, as I said. And I think with our D-line and our O-line as well, I think people aren't recognising how good this O-line actually is. It's one of the best we've had since 2008 is the last time I've seen people compare it to. We've had a solid O-line. The additions of like Jermaine Edelman or like from the Raiders as well, ironically, I think it was. He's been unbelievable for us, and it's just reshaped the entire offensive line. And the D-line is, you can't argue with it. Dexter Lawrence, I think he should be on for Defensive Player of the Year at this rate. He's got 6 sacks, which is the second highest in the NFL, as a nose tackle, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. And they've still got Brian Burns and Kayvon coming in each side. I think we win this game, and I think our season's back on track, and in turn we'll end the Bengals' playoff hopes.
And I'm the deluded one, apparently.
Max.
I'm just glad you've both shut up now, so I can finally bring some reason to this podcast, as I always do. It's an interesting one. I think the Giants definitely have the better defense, but the Bengals with a much stronger offense, and it could really come down. I don't know. It could come down to something as simple as special teams. It could be a close one. I'm taking the Bengals because I think they looked good against probably the best team in the AFC, the Ravens, even though I've backed against them this week. And obviously the Giants beating the Seahawks team who were, they're fine. I did say they had the best receiving core in the NFL last week, which James found really funny, but their defense did get faked out by JSN, which was hilarious. I'm taking the Bengals, unfortunately.
Kian?
So, Caden goes on about how good their offense is, and I'm not disputing that, but defense wins championships. And the Giants have got a very good defense, but not a very good offense. So I'm going to go for the Bengals. But, yeah, I do think it'll be a closer game than it looks and probably should be.
I'll happily live as the only one predicting us to win because I'll be the one right come whatever time. But it's going to be at stupid o'clock in the morning that game eventually ends. Then we have our last game of the week, the New York Jets under new whoever's going to be leading them for this week against the Buffalo Bills. Max, you can start us off for the final one.
Are they going to get a new general manager bounce? Not general manager, head coach bounce. Probably not. I don't have a lot of faith in Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers running this offense. They looked terrible in London, I'll be honest. They managed to get a few points on the board, but it was not convincing at all. The highlight of that game for me was Aaron Rodgers crawling around on the floor. That was quite funny. It's the Bills for me. I think they've taken 2 L's now, and they need to get back on track. And I think with Josh Allen, anything's possible. So give the Bills.
Kian?
I'd love to back my friends at the New York Jets, but I just can't. They're not a brilliant team. And I am a big fan of Buffalo. Obviously, it's 2 not great results back-to-back. But I do think they're a good side, and I think they're going to pick it up again this week. So I'm going for the Bills and Josh Allen. I'm not going to call him his usual name. I'm just going to call him a good quarterback this week.
Caden, are you going to call him his normal name, or are you going to leave it as well?
Mr. Beaststroker is going to get them the win. I think it's going to be a weird game for the Jets. I think getting rid of Salah was a very rash decision because it's very early into the season and there's not really much they can do with a new head coach when they're just not a very good team. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers is just not really playing very well this season. And as Max said, one of the best things I have seen this season is him crawling around on the floor like he's just been sniped on Fortnite. So I think they'll either get absolutely battered by the Bills or they'll have something building, as you said, like the new manager bounty game.
You've got to pick one, mate. You can't have both.
Dickhead.
Ty.
I think Bills is a very, very safe option, but you never know what a new head coach can do for a team. But I will take the Bills, but we'll have to see how it goes.
I'm going to take the Bills as well. It's straightforward for me, I think. I haven't really seen much from the Jets. I don't really believe they're anywhere worse off than where they probably should be. That's why I still don't really agree necessarily with the decision to get rid of Salah. But again, he's not really ever proven himself a head coach anywhere. So I'm not, again, on that hand, you can argue it's not very surprising. But yeah, pretty straightforward for me. I'm going to go with the Bills. So that rounds off another week of predictions for us. Hopefully they'll go a bit better than, well, I don't actually know how we did last week, but I can't imagine it was too good. Kian will lose that belt in about 5 seconds. To round it off, interesting question. Well, probably only ready for me and Caden to answer seriously. And then we'll move on as well to ask who you think is going to be in the Super Bowl. But first of all, Max, is your team a playoff contender? And you can just say no and we can move on.
The only thing we're in contention for this year is the first pick of the NFL draft.
Kian, I'm going to say it's the same answer from you.
Yeah, it's a big no from me. And we're going to be the first overall pick in the draft.
Fuck off, I want it.
it's probably not as easy an answer for me. I don't think we will be in the playoffs, but as I said, I think it depends on this week. If we can go out and beat one of the best offenses in the league and go 3-3, you then probably throw us in as a could sneak in on the wild card spot in the NFC, especially how poor the NFC's been at the minute, and even our division's been a bit terrible. It's definitely not out of the question if we win. So I'm gonna say maybe, depending on the result of the Bengals game. Okay, this is probably the most interesting one for you. Do you still think you're contenders to be in the playoffs?
It's a very, very tough one to say because everyone in our division is probably performing as we'd expect, apart from us. We had a slow start last year and nearly picked it up and went to the playoffs, and we just sort of fell apart towards the end of the season again. But I think it's just a case of, can we get this defense sorted out? Because if we can even get one less touchdown against us per game, we win most of our games that we've lost. So I'll say we will make the playoffs, but it's going to be a very difficult achievement for us just because of how bad the defense has been.
Well, so I think for both of us, it probably depends on Sunday's game, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Finally, as I said, we'll ask, who do you guys think? Obviously, we're only 6 weeks in. Stuff's going to change massively between now and when we actually get to the playoffs. But who do you think, based on what you've seen so far, will be the matchup in the Super Bowl in New Orleans this year? I'll start with you, Caden. Who do you think's going to the Super Bowl?
I've not really given it much thought because, as I said, it is very early. But I do think we'll see the Bills there, which you might think is a bit of an outsider shot, but I think it's definitely possible. And I think we all know who else is going to be there. I don't want to say it, but it's going to happen.
Are you going to say the Chiefs? Do you mean the
You're
team
gonna say the Chiefs?
also in the AFC?
There's a big flaw in that one.
Oh yeah, obviously, but it's hard to go against the Chiefs. But
they can't be in it if the Bills are in it.
You've got to pick one.
I'm trying. I know I'm not explaining it very well, but I'm just trying to gather my teams who I think could make it, and I'm gonna say the Bills just out of spite.
Fair enough.
Right.
Which,
from the NFC?
I'll be honest, yeah. And I've genuinely give it no thought at all, so I'm really struggling here.
Oh.
Anyone from the NFC you could think of you think might be in the Super Bowl?
You have to get back to me on this. I need to give it some serious thought.
Kian?
He's going to listen to one of ours and copy it.
I won't be listening to yours.
So, if you'd have asked me a couple of weeks ago, I'd have had the Bills as my AFC team. But I'm going to go for a bit of a rogue AFC shout, and I'm going to have the Texans.
Ooh.
I think they've got what it takes to get there. Much like that Bengals team that got there, I think they've got what it takes to get there. Whether they win it against who I'm going to pick in from the NFC, probably not, because who I'm picking from the NFC is the Detroit Lions. They came so close last year, obviously losing out just a game before the Super Bowl. I couldn't remember what round that was called then, so it's just the game before the Super Bowl. But yeah, I just think the Lions, for me, are my Super Bowl winners. And Jared Goff is finally going to get that ring that evaded him when he had the worst Super Bowl of all time.
Max?
It's interesting because I was also thinking, trying to go out of the box a bit, Lions, Texans. But I think the Ravens are probably going to be the AFC team, as much as that pains me. They just look too good. Once again, I'm starting to question why I've backed against them this week, but I'll just roll with it. Yeah, the Ravens from the AFC, and then NFC, Lions are definitely probably the strongest shout. I don't think it's going to be the Vikings. Obviously, they're the best in the NFC at the minute, but I think they're going to fall off. undoubtedly they looked a bit slower in London this week. I think that's starting to decline a bit. Yeah, I'm going to go Lions Ravens. Who wins it? Ravens, I think, unfortunately.
I can't really believe it's come round to me and nobody said the Chiefs for the AFC. And
I
I'm going to
refuse.
say,
Fuck them. Because fuck them. I'm sick of it.
as much as I'm sick of it, I don't see any universe where it's not the Chiefs this year. I know they've got no receivers, I get it, but they're going to end up with someone, and it's Patrick Mahomes, and they're 5-0. I think that's all that needs to be said about it. Kansas City Chiefs for the AFC, and he said about the Vikings, but as Keane said earlier, defense wins championships, and that is
Yeah.
probably the best defensive unit in the NFL at current moment.
James,
I don't
James,
think they're going to win the Super Bowl. I think, unfortunately, it's going to be a disgusting three-peat from the Chiefs. But I've got the Minnesota Vikings against the Kansas City Chiefs in New Orleans, and I think the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again, which I don't want them to. There could be many teams. The AFC is stacked. I think the NFC a bit more. It's probably going to be the Lions or the Vikings. I don't really see anyone else in that comparable thing. But the Vikings proved, the Lions proved last year, regardless, they have no bottle in the big situations. And I think there's going to be a loss in that playoff game for the Lions, which no one saw coming. And I think the Vikings will get there if they can continue how they're playing, because I really do believe that defense is the best in the NFL at current time.
this might be more delusional than when you picked the Chargers to beat the Chiefs, and that was bad.
That was only an
Vikings.
8-point game. It was not
Sam
even.
Darnold, you think Sam Darnold is going to be in the Super Bowl?
No one thought Sam
Darnold.
Darnold would be 5-0.
Yeah, but it's
This is
5-0 versus the Super Bowl, the big one.
Like, with how
it's just-
bad the NFC's been this year,
what have the
I
Vikings
think the Lions are their only
done?
real competition at the minute. I think they beat anyone else
No.
quite easily.
What about the Packers, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, and the Bucks?
They're not. No, they beat both their teams.
Fucking
Okay.
shocking, that. I can't believe it.
Caden, have you got an answer for us? Or are you going to nab someone?
Well, my first thought was the Lions, but I just can't see it happening. I think we'll get a lovely Eminem performance at their playoff game. But interestingly, no one's gone for the Niners. I know we talked about this earlier, but it's a team that could turn it around and get there. They've got the players to do so.
I thought, did
I
I fall
agree with
asleep or something?
What?
You said earlier that the season's been derailed and they're not even going to struggle to make the playoffs.
I'm not saying that they're going to get to the Super Bowl, but I just thought someone would have mentioned it at some point because they were in it last year.
Well, considering three of you said that they're not even going to make the playoffs, I'm going to assume no one's going to mention them as a Super Bowl contender.
But as runners up, you always got to have them as an outside shout. I don't personally think they'll get there. I don't think you do either. But someone out there.
The Bills versus who? In New Orleans.
I'm just going to go Bills Lions. I just don't think the Vikings have got it in them.
We got there in the
For
end.
some reason you think.
I do. I think if you watch that Vikings team, and obviously someone who was, in and around with them behind the scenes on Friday, I think it opened my eyes a bit more to the whole situation. There's so much belief in that locker room. And Kevin O'Connell said it, Aaron Jones said it when I asked him. The team spirit in that locker room is unbelievable. I think they're the most together team in the NFL, and that can be a big thing as well. So, again, it could seem ridiculous in 4 weeks. They lose 4 games in a row and they're terrible again. But at the minute, I'm going the Vikings versus the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But that is all we have time for this week. So next week, we'll talk about whatever mental thing happens when the Giants beat the Bengals and end their season. Thank you to Max, Kian, and Caden for joining me. And we will see you all next week.
Goodbye, everyone.
In a bit.